In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the visor and pivot assemblies on your Z-Link. First, you can open the visor and remove the main safety lens. With the lens now removed, you can then drop the visor back down, making sure that it's clipped together, and then open that right open so that you can unclip the head suspension from the locating prongs. We're just going to undo the front two clips to allow that to drop down to give us access to the pivot point internal mechanism. You can then get a 9/64 Allen wrench to undo the screw that holds that pivot point assembly together. As you undo that screw, you want to be sure to hold the outside, as there is a spring behind there that you want to make sure doesn't fall on the ground as you're replacing it. And there's the spring and the pivot point and the internal bracket as well. You can then repeat the opposite side, remembering to hold the pivot point So with the pivot point assembly now removed, you can then remove the visor from the Z-Link. To replace the visor on your Z-Link, you're first going to make sure that the visor is mounted into the pivot points on the sides of the Z-Link. You can then take the pivot point assembly and spring and insert it into the locator on the side. And you'll notice that it will only go in one way. So you can just turn that around until you find the spot where that will press in on the spring. You can then take the internal component and screw with your Allen wrench and attach it together. When you're installing this bracket on the inside, you want to make sure that the tab is to the top. So you can see there's two little cutouts at the top. That needs to go to the top of the inside of the respirator. And then you want to do that up until it is tight. Then you can repeat the opposite side, again taking the spring, getting it into the location that you need, where that part will press in. Then take your internal component, ensuring that that tab is facing upward, and tighten the screw. You can then reattach the head suspension to the two front prongs. And then reinstall the visor into your new frame. You're going to first locate the lens to the bottom of the jaw, and then make sure that the top corner and the locator tab are in the locations on the visor. Then as you shut that visor, you want to use your fingers to hold the lens in and then your thumbs to press down on the top of the visor to ensure that that locates correctly and seals up on the lens. You can then shut the visor, and that is how to replace the pivot points and visor on your Z-Link.